Welcome to WTF Media. If you love crazy, unbelievable stories, make sure to subscribe and hit the bell so you don't miss out. Let's jump right into today's story. Sitting in a jail cell on my last day inside. I'm actually quite happy that I'm sat here at the end of my stretch. I learned a lot from the old lags in here. I think the story that led me to this time and place is an interesting one. It all started when Sally, my wife, and I moved into a posh new estate in a new town on the outskirts of London. It was full of young up and coming go-getters, much like ourselves. It was fun to mix together. There were some single blokes, and there were some single lasses, but mainly married couples, and some just living together that can't be bothered to get married. There were parties most weekends at someone's house. We were all youngish, vital, up-and-coming middle management types in a range of lawyers, advertising agencies, and estate agents. I had been an aircraft mechanic and even got to be a supervisor before I found out that I could sweet-talk people into spending more on a house than they needed to and sold them a mortgage at a good rate. Well, good for me anyway. Sally was a minor sales executive in an advertising agency. We were all really quite well off, and life was good. We would quite often all meet up in a local wine bar midday on Friday to whinge about clients who didn't know they were being ripped off, full of mutual back-patting. One particular Friday I phoned Sally to let her know I was not going to get there until about 3 or 4 o'clock. I had some stupid clients to catch up with, and I would see her there when I finished. I pitched up at the bar just after 4 o'clock, and the usual crowd was there. I couldn't see Sally, so I asked one of the girls where she was. She wasn't feeling well, so Gerald took her home. Sally and Gerald worked at the same agency, so they are going to be a bit friendly. The problem was that Gerald was a bit of a womanizer and a bit of a twat when it came to women. He had that "I am God's gift to women" attitude. We all had seen the drunken arguments between Gerald and his wife Fiona because of his flirting. It may have been more than flirting. They had only been married less than 2 years, although they had been together for several. Not a marriage made in heaven. Sally and I thought the God's gift to women had palled a bit with Fiona. Feeling a bit bemused, I drove home. I couldn't see Gerald's car around nor Sally's. Hers was probably still at work or the bar car park, and Gerald would have gone home in his. Assuming my wife was poorly upstairs in bed, I was a bit careful how I approached the house. I opened the front door and went upstairs. I heard those sounds no married man wants to hear if he's not involved. Oh yes, deeper. Stop. We shouldn't be doing this. Stop. Stop. If Mike catches us, he will fucking kill us. But that is so good. I took out my mobile phone and switched on the video. I set it to record and gently opened my bedroom door to see. Lo, and behold, Sally was on her back with a naked Gerald pumping away at her on our bed with her legs wrapped around his back. Fuck. I took a few seconds of video to get a dose and shut the phone down. The first thing I wanted to do was throw up. The second thing I wanted to do was to cause some damage. The second part was going to be easy. I went into the spare bedroom and dragged out my old cricketing kit bag. I took out my cricket bat and approached our bedroom. They were still having at it. With an almighty kick, I smashed the door open. The look on their faces was amazing. Gerald's face was even more amazed when the bat caught him on the side of his chest and he flew off the bed into the wall. I grabbed Sally by the back of her long hair and threw her off the bed into the corner next to him, shouting, "What the fucking hell are you doing?" as if I couldn't see. "Mike, babe, it's not like it seems," she replied. "Oh yes, it is exactly like what it fucking seems. You are shagging that fucking twat in our bed." Gerald was now standing up, holding his ribs. I grabbed him by his long, poncy blonde hair and threw him onto a bedroom chair. Sit there before this cricket bat comes in contact with your bollocks. I got my phone out and showed him the video I had recorded and said, "You sit there or I send this video to your wife." He sat still. I looked at my wife huddled in the corner. I shook the cricket bat in front of her face and said, "If you move, this bat will come in contact with your pretty face and you'll look fucking ugly by the time I have finished." I had some nasty, nasty thoughts. This twat was going to be scared for the rest of his life. He will never come near my wife again. I went downstairs and grabbed some rope, 2-inch wide black tape, and some wire, the sort of stuff we use on aircraft to stop nuts and bolts coming undone. It's stainless steel at about 0.5 millimeter thick, looks like cheese wire. When I got back upstairs, Gerald was still sitting in the chair. Sally was still crying in the corner. I told Sally to tape Gerald's body to the chair and to tape his arms behind the chair. She did exactly as I told her and then went back to her corner. I then pulled out a piece of rope and tied it to Gerald's left ankle, took it up across his thighs and tied it to his right ankle and pulled it tight. His heels were tucked up on either side of the chair, almost touching his thighs. This is the Yuki part. I then took a piece of the steel wire, wrapped one piece around one ankle rope, then took it up across his thigh, around his testicles and penis, down to the other ankle, and wrapped that around the rope tied to his ankle. His legs are now being held in place by the rope. Should that rope snap, he would lose all of his man parts. I took out my Swiss Army knife and opened up the large blade. I placed it under the rope, looked into his eyes, and said, "Do you know what happens if I cut this rope?" Through the tears now pouring down his face, he nodded. I think he knew the fuck he got himself into. That is actually too much. I had only looped the wire around the right ankle rope with one twist, so if the rope did snap, it would frighten the shit out of him, but do very little physical damage. L just wanted this fucker to fear for his bollocks and cock now. I would gain nothing by completely crushing him. I think some Roman chap said that a few centuries ago. Now, just to rub salt into the wound, I told Sally to phone Gerald's wife Fiona. She can be a bit fiery, but I was not going to do this alone. I heard Sally say to Fiona, "Can you have over to my house, it's important?" I could hear over the speaker. "No, sorry, I'm a bit busy at the moment." Sally said, "You need to come over." "No, sorry, I'm busy." I took the phone off of Sally and I said, "Fiona, I have just found Gerald in my bed. Fucking Sally, I think you should come over." The phone went dead very quickly. It was about 50 yards from their house to ours, and by the time I made it downstairs, the front door nearly flew off its hinges as Fiona burst through it. "Where the fuck are they?" she shouted. Not wishing to get in the way, I said, "Upstairs." She was like a tornado bursting into our bedroom, and all she could see was Gerald taped to a chair, his ankles up by the side of his thighs, and a piece of cheese wire wrapped around his man parts. She started in at him straight away. "What the fuck? Not again." "No, no, no," he said. "I told you I would cut your bollocks off next time, and here we fucking are, cock and bollocks ready to come off," she replied. I was amazed at her next actions. Fiona grabbed the knife off of me and placed it under the rope. "Right, you twat. You tell me everyone and every date you have fucked since we've been together," she said. He went grey. She got out her mobile phone and started walking around him, videoing him. He was in no place to argue. You could tell he was scared. "Right, let's have the names." He started spilling his guts. "Girls from work, neighbors, friends," he replied. Fiona sat down on the bed with a look of confusion on her face, which soon turned to disgust. "These are my friends. You're fucking my friends." She looked at me with imploring eyes and said, "Could I have a drink of water? This is too much." I went to the bathroom and got her a glass of water and took it back to her. She was standing by Gerald with the knife still in her hand. She drank it in one go. I bet she wished it was gin or vodka. I started on him, and how many times with that slut, pointing at Sally. This is the first time, honest. We just got chatting about sex and got carried away. I sort of believed him about the first time with the threat he was under. Not sure about the rest though. Standing in front of him, Fiona said, "Right, you twat, you're holding something back. What is it?" His face dropped. "There's more. I think you're lying. I've not been with you for this long, and not knowing when you're lying, okay?" That was when she offered the knife back up to the rope. "Tell me, you cunt, or you become a eunuch. In fact, you will become more than a eunuch. At least they had a cock left to piss through," she said. "Promise you won't do it if I tell," he said, looking down at his genitals. "I promise," she replied. "Okay, it was Felicity," he replied. "What? My sister, you cunt, when?" Fiona answered. "At the weddings," he replied. "What? The one last month?" Fiona questioned. Looking down, he nodded at his trapped appendages and said, "You promise not to." "I promise. Now fucking get on with it." "Which wedding? There has only ours and Felicity's last month." You could see the light come on in Fiona's head. "Our wedding," he nodded, still looking down. "Weddings, plural?" he nodded. "What? Hers as well," he nodded again. "I will remember this part for the rest of my life. It all happened in slow motion." Fiona leaned within inches of his face and whispered, "You cheated, I lied." The knife came up and parted the rope. Released from their restraints, Gerald's legs crashed to the floor. I saw the wire cut into the flesh of his thighs. That shouldn't happen, I thought to myself. The wire should have come undone. Then I saw his penis and testicles shoot across the room, propelled by a stream of blood. That is a sight that will haunt me till the day I die, and the scream was probably the loudest thing I have ever heard, and I used to work on aircraft that had jet engines with reheat. The thought, fuck, now I am going to have to change the carpet, and the bed passed through my mind. Then the training kicked in. I rushed past him to the bathroom, knocking him on his back. I couldn't raise the damaged area, but I could stop gravity helping. The screaming stopped. He either fainted with the pain, or I knocked him out. I grabbed the towels and went back and shoved them onto the wound. I yelled at Sally, more towels, and phoned the ambulance. There was nothing more I could do, apart from apply pressure to the wound, and then I noticed Fiona had her phone to her ear. Now the git has shut up. Yes, I said, I have cut my husband's cock and balls off with cheese wire, Fiona uttered. There was a pause as she listened. Yes, I have got that. Keep the bits cool, not cold, not the freezer. I have just the thing. Between her thumb and forefinger, she picked up Gerald's appendages and went to the bathroom. Ah, good idea. Cold water, probably the best we could do at the moment, I thought, and then I heard the toilet flush. Shit, has she just flushed his cock and balls down the bog? She came back into the bedroom and said to the person on the phone, Done that, nice and cool now. Another pause. No, not a game. The bastard was cheating on me. Won't do that again, will he? And she laughed. More towels. He was looking very pale now. The first to arrive was the police. A young constable came through the bedroom door and said, What's going on? And that was as far as he got when his dinner joined the mess on my already dirty carpet. Fortunately, the paramedics were made of sterner stuff and had probably seen it all before. Well done, mate. We got this now. You probably saved his life. Where are the bits? He asked. I think she flushed them down the toilet, nodding to Fiona. Oh fuck, was the reply. She must have been really pissed off. Shagging your wife's sister at her and your own wedding will do that, I replied. Fiona was being escorted out to the police car. Sally and I were asked to accompany the police to the station after Sally got dressed. The interview with the police was quite simple. I told them exactly what happened from my point of view, including the wire not being twisted and should have come off. Fiona told them her story, and fortunately for me, she admitted that she had tightened the wire as it was coming loose, and she didn't want to ruin the illusion. She was just a woman. How would she know about how to lock off cheese wire? Nobody believed her, but couldn't prove it. I went down for 3 years for false imprisonment. I was fortunate in the judge. I found out later that he had been cheated on by his wife. Otherwise, I may have got a longer sentence. Apparently, it helped that I saved his life by what I did. I only served 18 months. The GBH charge didn't stick as I pleaded temporary insanity, finding my wife being shagged by one of our friends. Fiona got a suspended sentence for illegally disposing of human body parts, or some such thing, and had to attend a psychiatric hospital. Sally was an innocent party and was not charged with anything. I divorced Sally, and it came through whilst I was inside. Sally lost the house because she couldn't keep up the payments without my wages. She almost lost her job as Gerald worked at the same place. My time inside was quite easy. Healthcare, television, reasonable food, and when I was asked why I was, and I told the other lags that I cut the cock and balls off the man I found shagging my wife. A bit of a fib, really, but I did set it up. I was sort of held in high regard. I left the prison on a bright sunny morning. I had a train ticket in my pocket as the resettlement people had found me a job up north. I was surprised to see Sally waiting for me. She had only visited twice since the divorce became final. Despite the warm day, she was wearing a belted Macintosh. I had a feeling I knew where this was going, as this was one of my fantasies. As I approached her, I could see I was right. She gently undid the belt and gradually opened the Macintosh, holding it in front of her so that I could see she was naked except for stockings and a suspender belt. She closed the coat, leaving a lot of cleavage on show. As I walked up to her, she slipped her arm into mine and we carried on walking. She said, "Hello, sweetie. Now you're out. I'll start to make it up to you. I have a hotel room booked just around the corner." I was looking forward to a few beers after 18 months, without any, but I could get beer anytime. Sex was going to be harder to come by. I looked at her and said, "Lead the way, my lady." As we walked, she said to me, as if trying to get it all out before we reached the hotel, "I know we're divorced, but I want to make it up to you. I do love you, and I know I made a big mistake. I don't know what came over me. It's all my fault, and I have to take all the blame. Can you find a way to forgive me, please? I will prove I can be faithful. I know it won't be easy for you to trust me again, but please give it a try," I grunted. "Please just think about it. Please just think about it," she asked. I just grunted again. We went to the hotel, and the looks we got as we walked through reception told me this was a fairly usual occurrence. People coming out of prison and jumping straight into a hotel room. She swiped the card, and we entered the room. Sitting on the dresser was a bottle of gin and some tonic water. She smiled and said, "You better get undressed whilst I get you a drink." There was no finesse about this. I took a mouthful of the gin, then tore her coat off and threw her on the bed. I rolled off her and said, "Thanks, I enjoyed that." I took a more leisurely drink of the gin and tonic, and then looked at her and said, "Where do you think we should go from here?" She laid in my arms, looked me in the eyes, and said, "I know it was my fault. I hurt you. I should have said no, but I got carried away. It won't happen again. I can promise you that." "But I heard you say he was good. Was he better than me?" I asked. "No, he wasn't as good as you. He was slacking. I was trying to boost his ego so he would go harder. He's no match for you," she replied. I thought to myself, he certainly isn't now. "So, you risked our marriage for a bit of fun, and he wasn't even as good as me? That's very disappointing," I asked. "I know I was wrong. It was my mistake. What must I do to get back into your life?" I have been celibate for the last 18 months since that day. I don't want anybody else. I only want you. I know it's not going to be easy for you to forgive me. I'm not sure if you can. But I won't cock up again. Once bitten, twice shy. I'm not going to risk losing you again. I'm not likely to make the same mistake twice. Can we make a go of it, please? Can we at least try? She replied. I let her finish her little speech. The thing about being an estate agent and a supervisor is you become a bit of a psychologist, and you learn to read people by their actions and words. Looking at her, I said, I think I've had enough rest. Let's go again. I got off her and went to the bathroom for a shower. When I returned, I could tell she was up for more, and she had that coy, cute, sexy look I had known so often when she wanted something. I looked at my watch and began dressing, causing her to kneel up straight so we were the same height. Are you going? I looked at her. She was confused, but ever so cute. I could get used to having that every day and fucking it any way I liked. Yes, I have trained to catch, I replied. But why? She asked. I looked at her and said, the resettlement people got me a job as an estate agent in Merseyside. It's just pushing paper for now, but I think I can make a go of it. I will think about your suggestion. By then, I was dressed and had reached the door. I opened it. I looked back at her and said, it would have helped me make a decision in your favor if you had said you were sorry. I heard her scream no as I closed the door. I lied. I got on the train to Lincoln. I went back to being an aircraft mechanic. It didn't pay as much as an estate agent, but at least the people weren't twats. The last I heard of Fiona, she was seeing a trick cyclist, and Gerald was now known as Geraldine. That's the end of this story. If you found it engaging, please give it a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe for more content like this. I've tried out a new style, so if you liked it, let me know in the comments. Your support and feedback mean the world to me. Thanks for watching.